Gabe, Elton here from Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, sitting in for Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. Got a lot of important things to talk about tonight, especially what's going on in the world today. I don't know if you guys heard the segue between shows here on the Rinse Radio Network, but some very important things that are going on in the world today is GM airbags. I don't know if you heard it, but they aren't deploying fast enough. You know, that's a big time headline today. They also found out that antidepressants might help Alzheimer's. There's a Ground Zero museum about to open. You know, these are all the things I heard between shows. And looking at Google News, I mean, you know, the important things that are happening in the world today is that you've got spreading brush fires in San Diego. Karl Rove overstepped his boundaries when he said Hillary Clinton had a brain problem. Kentucky is suing the federal government over hemp seeds. All of this is in the news today. Oh, they might have even found out who was the Zodiac killer. But you know what, guys? None of this is important. That's just what's being shoved at us through the mainstream media. I cannot believe in a world that we're going through what we're going through in these days and times that these are the things that are important to us. Someone just spent a 3-minute segue talking about GM airbags, antidepressants, and a Ground Zero museum about to reopen. Meantime, the whole world's going up in flames. You look at Google News, top story in the nation right now is the San Diego wildfire. It's not the fact that the CIA is helping to overthrow the Ukraine. It has nothing to do with the fact that Joe Biden recently visited the Ukraine several weeks ago, and now all of a sudden his son is going to be on the board of one of their largest natural gas dealers over there. That's not important. Believe it or not, and I hate to fall into partisan politics, but this thing about Benghazi is just stinks to high heaven. And that's not important either, you see. What is important is that the Zodiac killer may have been found. You know, that's the most important thing in the news, it seems. I mean, I've read it from, let's see. You've got at least, over 100 different news agencies writing about that today. But you don't see anybody writing about the Ukraine. You don't see anyone writing about the fact that the whole world in unison is moving away from the dollar. That's not in the news. It's just amazing, and that's what I'm trying to bring to you today is what's really happening out there, what we're seeing, and what's going on. Because let me tell you, outside of the mainstream media in the United States, there is a ton of havoc going on. And that havoc is going to affect each and every one of us around the world. And in fact, it already is. You know, some people might say, well, Gabe, that's kind of alarmist, you know, to say that that there's havoc and the world is basically on fire, and yes, it's going to affect all of us. Well, guess what? If you've been to the store lately, it's affecting you. Food prices are through the roof. It's been the best performing asset of 2014 is foodstuffs, which is an actual index that follows the price of food. And you talk to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and they'll tell you that there's no inflation. Well, guess what? At the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, in their cafeteria just raised all their prices today. And funny thing is one of their economists thought that was rather amusing because according to their own figures, there isn't any inflation. But if you go to their own cafeteria and try to buy a lunch, it's going to cost you more because all of those prices are rising too. So welcome to the U.S. of A, a country rather that defines importance by a comment that Karl Rove made, or a fact that a pharmaceutical might help prevent Alzheimer's. You know, that's what we're dealing with. That's the mentality of the world that we're dealing with, and that's the mentality of the world that we live in, unfortunately. In the meantime, if you wanted to know what's really going on in the world, well, a big story broke today regarding silver. Silver has been set by a price fixing mechanism, the same as gold. It's an interesting and long story that started back in the 1600s by a guy named Makata. And basically, as it transformed over the years, the gold fixing unit was eventually taken over by the Rothschilds. And basically what's happening is you have, originally the way that it was designed is that you would have major banks sit on, at the table, make a few phone calls, trade gold and silver contracts until you had the exact same number of buyers as you had sellers. That would fix the price. Unfortunately, sometimes that would take hours. Some days it might take minutes. Sometimes it would take hours. And during that time, important information that should have been only privy to the people who are fixing the prices obviously was leaked out, and people were able to make trades and make money off of that. Well, the silver price fixing is now over. In fact, there were only two banks left that were doing it, and Deutsche Bank has withdrawn. There have been a lot of crazy things happening. I brought this up probably about 2-3 months ago. I was on the phone, or actually on the show with Charlie at the time, and we were talking specifically about the bankers that were dying. And I brought up the point that, none of this really started happening until Deutsche Bank started being investigated by the European regulators. They had a European regulator that came out and said that the price fixing scandal in gold and silver is much bigger than LIBOR. And it wasn't 2 days after that before the first banker started to die. And, I had guessed that possibly there was some sort of relation between that. And it turns out that the Deutsche Bank is resigning from basically all of the gold fixing and all of the silver fixing that it was involved with. In fact, it even tried to sell its seats, and no one would buy it. And one of the reasons for that is because everyone knows that everyone at those seats are manipulating markets. And it seems like the world governments are starting to figure this out. Now, that in itself is sort of a weird statement, because we all know that most regulators are not only turning a blind eye, they're actually in on the deal, allowing things like this to happen. But what is interesting is that Deutsche Bank is basically quitting and withdrawing. They're trying to leave absolutely no trail behind them. As a matter of fact, they've changed seats several times as far as who is running their price-fixing board. They've switched out different people. Different people have withdrawn from the industry. It's basically the rats are leaving the ship. The roaches have seen the light, and they're withdrawing from what is going on. Now, what's the bigger picture in this? Because if you were like me, I don't have much trust in government regulators, and that's who seems to have started this whole fiasco. In fact, it started on right around November of last year. The German regulator announced that it was going to start reviewing how banks participate in the gold and silver price setting. In fact, Bloomberg had an article entitled, the regulator, actually a piece of the article said, the regulator is looking at the procedures of individual banks. And obviously one of those individual banks was Deutsche Bank. And the preceding events have basically left only one person to fix the price of silver, only one bank. And that in itself is impossible. However, there has been an update to the story that says Deutsche Bank is going to carry on for a very short amount of time until there is some other alternative way to carry on. There are a lot of people within our movement, if you will, that feel that this is going to be the beginning of the end of silver price manipulation. But getting back to the bigger story is, why are these government regulators doing this all of a sudden? Could it be because there is a new global currency in the works that's going to have a portion of its value set by gold and silver? That could be one of the reasons. If the governments are going to vindicate gold and silver and legitimize gold and silver as a form of money, as if it hasn't been for over 3,000 years, if they were going to reintroduce, I should say, gold and silver as a form of money, well, then you certainly can't have the banks manipulating gold and silver if the governments are going to use it as a portion of their currency. So that could be an aspect of this story. It's a total guess, but I think it's a very well educated guess of what could be happening. Some of the things that we've seen in the chat room, I went in and asked anybody have any questions about what's going on. And, you know, a lot of people say, what's the problem with gold and silver? How come the price hasn't gone up? Well, I can tell you from being in this industry since 1999 that the price isn't falling. There is a ton of downward pressure. There is no doubt that governments and agencies and hedge funds and others are trying to manipulate the gold and silver prices lower, but it doesn't seem to be working. The last time that I saw gold and silver stay in a channel like it has for the last 18 to 24 months, the last time that I ever saw that was in 1999 and 2000. I had first gotten into the industry, and the gold price, if it moved $3 in a day, that was a huge move. Now, granted, gold was only $250. But if silver went up 5 cents in a day, that was a huge move. And the reason why is because no one was trading gold and no one was trading silver. It was a dormant market where nothing was happening. And I can tell you, within the last 18 months, it's been on and off. It gets busy and then it'll slow down. But generally speaking, in the last 18 months has been the doldrums. Nothing has been happening. It's the most boring market out there. If you are a guy who likes excitement and likes risk, well, then gold and silver haven't really made you happy over the last 18 months. However, if you look at long periods of markets, and you could put this across most any market, where you have a price consolidation that lasts for 18 to 24 months and nothing in particular big is happening to the actual prices. That doesn't mean that big things that affect the fundamentals of gold and silver aren't happening. But what is happening is that the prices aren't moving. It is building a groundwork for what I believe is a huge explosion to the upside. The only reason why gold isn't falling is because it's building a base. It is like a coiled spring that when it actually happens, it's going to be a big move. And, one of the things that Shane McGuire explained to me during one of our conversations is that the institutional buyers aren't in the gold and silver markets anymore. In 2008, when the crisis happened, to buy gold, if you were an institution, if you were going to buy gold or silver, invest in gold and silver, it was considered kooky. It was considered taboo. However, when the crisis happened in 2007 and 2008, that taboo label was removed. It became very mainstream for institutions to be invested into gold and silver. Well, as soon as the Federal Reserve started hosing the economy with quantitative easing, like, water from a bazooka, $16 trillion. Well, these institutions, they knew what that was going to do to the stock market. And look what it's done. They have been out of the gold and silver markets for some time. They've been riding the wave in the stock markets. But one thing that he continually says is that it's no longer taboo. And at the first sign of problems, they know where the exits are, and the exits are out of stocks and into gold. And people like you, people like me, others who are interested in the gold and silver markets or plan on buying gold and silver, you had better have your positions established before that happens. And that's what we're living with today. That's what we're seeing today. And hopefully you guys can join me and kind of look at the direction that we're headed, where we're going, and what's in store for us. Because one thing that I can promise you, it's not pretty. You know, I look at a quote that I had put aside. You know, I mentioned last time I do reports for our company, and what I normally do is I put aside articles for, you know, quite a while before I actually start to write on them. And one quote in particular caught me. It was from one of the major investment firms. And basically what they were saying is, can we say when this will end? And what they're talking about is this stock market glory days that we've been living through over the last several years. And he says, no, there's no way. I can't tell you when this is going to end. The only thing that I can tell you is that it will end. And, you know, another question that I see here in the chat room is, where is gold or silver going to be in the next 3, 6, 9 months? I don't have a clue. I cannot tell you where gold's going to be in 3 months. I can't tell you where it's going to be in 6 months or even 9 months. But what I can tell you is that we are right. It's headed where it's headed, and we are not wrong. We will be proven right. We can't tell you when it's going to happen, only that it's going to happen. And the fact is, it is happening all around us right now. If you look at what's going on in Russia, if you look at what's going on in China, there's absolutely no doubt of where we're headed. You're just not going to hear about it on the evening news. The revolution is not going to be televised. The fact that the rest of the world is not going to be using dollars for trade amongst each other, they're not going to tell you about it. You're going to hear about GM airbags. You're going to hear about antidepressants. You're not going to hear on the mainstream news that a silver fixing price that's been around since the year 1600 ended today. That's not important. It's been around since the year 1600. And yet it's not even in the news. But the Ground Zero Museum is going to open. We got a California wildfire. Karl Rove talking about Hillary's brain tumor. You know, that's mainstream news. It's been talked about now for over a week. Yet the whole world is on fire. The whole world is moving away from the dollar. Russia and China are making deals. China had a meeting, or Russia just had a meeting recently, and that's it. That's what the whole meeting was for. It was called the de-dollarization. I guess that was the way that we reported it here, was the de-dollarization meeting. And basically they got together to find out how they could trade all of their energies without using the U.S. dollar, to convert it to the ruble. And, you know, China has been talking about this for a long time. You know, it sounds like we're beating a broken record here, because it is. And that's what's going on in the world, yet you're not going to hear about it here in the States. Not unless you come on to WideAwakeNews or visit our website, Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, or read our reports. Because and of course there are other very good alternative sites out there that have excellent information as well. But that's the only way you're going to find out what's really going on in the world today. You're not going to find it on Fox News or MSNBC or ABC or CBS or any of the other alphabets. Where you will find it is if you seek it out. And if you seek it out, I think you're going to find out what's going on here. If people always ask me to forecast the price of gold, and my answer is, I'm a terrible forecaster. If you had asked me to forecast the price of gold 12 months ago, I would have lost you a lot of money. The only thing that I know for sure is that we are right. And I can't tell you when it's going to happen. I can only tell you that it is happening, and it's quickening, and all you have to do is open your eyes to see it. All of these things that we've been talking about for such a long time are happening all around us. The world is moving away from the dollar. The days of the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency is coming to an end right now. Like, it is happening. So when that happens, and it is, that's when you see gold and silver start to skyrocket, and that's when you see the U.S. dollar crumble, and that's when you see all of the things that all of us have been talking about, Charlie McGrath included, come to fruition, when the U.S. dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, and that is happening today, right now, as we speak. and it shouldn't take much longer. So I do appreciate the questions. As a matter of fact, I see another one here. Is if we declare war, will the dollar rebound and precious metals go south? I doubt that. It's funny that I do see where you might feel like people will look to the dollar for safety. I could see where that argument could say, well, hey, maybe the dollar will go up in the case of war. But the one thing that keeps the dollar afloat is the fact that it's the world's reserve currency. So if there is war, then I would say the world reserve currency will come to an end even sooner, in which case the dollar couldn't continue to be strong. Now, if you have a lot of things going on in the world, well, yeah, people might rush into dollars, but that sort of goes back into my 2008 argument, is that in 2008, gold was taboo. Institutions weren't buying gold. Now they know where the exits are. So if you're an institutional buyer and something happens in the world like war or stock market crash, where are you going to go and what are you going to do? And this time it's not going to be to dollars. I think it's going to be to gold. See you guys on the backside in a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
This is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. In 1985, former President Ronald Reagan requested that Carnivora be sent directly to the White House from Europe, where it was manufactured at the time, effectively making him the first American to use Carnivora. He used it successfully for a serious immune challenge, which we are prohibited from mentioning in the United States. I would like to add that he used Carnivora approximately 8 years prior to the onset of his Alzheimer's condition, for those of you inadvertently connecting the two events. Visit us at carnivora.com, now used in 27 countries around the world. Carnivore instinctively seeks out abnormal cells only that don't belong in the body without harming a single normal cell. 100% pure, natural, and harmless to humans and animals. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY, or visit carnivora.com. Your immune system will thank you.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rense.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rense.com.
door, make no sound.
All right, Gabe Elton back here from Austin Rare Coin and Bullion, sitting in for Charlie McGrath on the WideAwakeNews Network and on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. One thing I mentioned before I came on that I was going to be bringing a special. And I hope everyone's listening very closely. If you're close to a pen and piece of paper, you might want to grab it because this is the best special I've ever brought to any show ever. And we want to get something happening around here. We want to help you guys get more silver, and we want to help ourselves by getting more clients. So this is what we're going to do. How about 5 silver eagles, the most expensive non-numismatic modern coin minted? They're more expensive than Canadian maple leaves. They're more expensive than Austrian philharmonics. 5 silver eagles at spot. And we do have to charge you shipping, which is $7 to ship those 5 silver eagles. $106 delivered, 5 silver eagles to your door. You're not going to find it anywhere else in the country, period. And that is from tomorrow, which is Thursday, May 15th, 2014, and Friday, tomorrow's May 15th, and on Friday, May 16th, both days, 48 hours only, you can get, 48 hours only, you get 5 silver eagles, $106 delivered. You're not going to find it anywhere. Basically, what you're getting is 5 coins, 5 silver eagles at spot, plus the $7 for shipping. I can guarantee you're not going to outdo that. So make sure to write that down. You're going to have to call our main number, which is 1-800-928-6468. Tell them that you heard about it on this show. This offer is not available to anyone else other than Wide Awake listeners. The only way you're going to get this special deal is to tell us that you heard us on the Wide Awake News Radio Network, and we will deliver to you 5 silver eagles at spot plus $7 shipping. Comes out to $106, and it's for 48 hours only until Friday. I am supremely confident that you're not going to find that deal anywhere else. In fact, speaking on the subject, and this just is off the top of my head, I never had even planned on talking about this, but, stackers in particular, and I feel like I'm talking to majority of stackers. I'm not using that word in a bad sense. I myself am a stacker. I just choose to do it totally different so I don't believe into that simple category. To me, a stacker is only interested in what premium are you paying over spot and how much of the silver can you get and at what price. And you probably heard me say on this show several times, Austin Rare Coin and Bullion is not going to be the least expensive bullion company in the United States. Not going to happen. One of the reasons is because we don't sit on a huge amount of inventory. Those people who do can sell at a lower price than us, but they are also heavily hedging that material. For those of you that aren't in the financial markets every day, what a hedge is people go out there and take out a short on their inventory. That's basically what options were designed for, is if you were a farmer and wanted to protect yourself for the price of seed fluctuations in price, or if you wanted to protect yourself from a bad weather event or a drought or sitting on a bunch of inventory, you could go out and short the market. So in other words, if your inventory what falls in price, if the value of your inventory falls in price, you make money on shorts. So you don't have to make money selling your inventory. You're making money in the paper short markets. Well, guess what, folks? That's what bullion dealers do. The large ones out there have huge amounts of inventory, which means they're heavily invested in the paper silver contracts to the short side. Now that we've got that out of the way, the least expensive place to buy gold and silver that I have ever found and that I've ever heard about, and the guy's been around since before I got into the industry, back in the 90s. His name was Hans Tolving. From what I hear, people who know him say he's actually a fairly good guy. And, people who know him actually have only said kind of good things about him. It's hard to find somebody say that he's not a good person. Well, Hans Tolving just went bankrupt a few months ago. And in the process, you have lots of investors who had sent him, some had sent him hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now they don't have the product or their money. This is rampant. I shouldn't say rampant in the industry. It's rampant amongst people who had dealt with Hans Tolving. And what this is, I believe, is a reflection of the industry. If you are only looking for the lowest possible price, well, Hans Tolving was your guy. He sold Silver Eagles for less than anyone else that I could find. He sold Gold Eagles for less than anyone else I could find. But he was also heavily short the market. And whenever you make risk like that, okay, you might be sending your money to a gold dealer who has perfect reputation, who has great business practices, but who is also involved in high-risk hedges. Now, sometimes it's not even the dealer's fault. Like, if you look at MF Global, what happened over there? Well, MF Global, they lost over $2 billion of their clients' own money. In fact, I think it was more than that, but I'll just be $2 billion, say $2 billion and be nice. Well, they said it vaporized. Well, this was supposed to be segregated money. Well, if you were a gold or silver company who had run your hedges through MF Global, and MF Global had a problem, went bankrupt, and your funds were vaporized, well, that gold and silver dealer might not be able to deliver your product at any price because their funds are tied up and have been seized as part of a failing clearinghouse like MF Global. Okay, that doesn't mean that that person who didn't deliver your product wasn't running a business straight and narrow. That means that he was involved in a hedging operation where he was shorting gold and silver on the other end. Okay, now Hans Tolving is just one example, but I believe it's a big example of what could go nationwide in the event of a complete COMEX disaster. And that's what many people in the precious metals industry has been warning about for decades, is that COMEX is a fractional reserve banking system, and that when people stand for delivery and demand their physical, there simply isn't enough gold and silver to back up the contracts that are placed there. What that means is you're going to have a lot of gold and silver dealers go out of business, even though it might not even be their own fault. Okay. Now, in the event that something like that happens, the creditors, unsecured creditors, like you and me and anybody who sent money to Hans Tolving, are last on the list. You're an unsecured creditor. In bankruptcy proceedings, you will be lucky if you get pennies on the dollar. And what happened to Tolving, I think, is just a shining example of what could happen to some of the best run gold and silver companies that are out there. And some of them I like. Some of them I like the information they put out. I follow their videos. I watch what's going on. This gold and silver business, don't want to call it one big family, but it's certainly a very small world. We all sort of know each other. We go to the same coin shows together. We travel together. There's coin industry has its own gossip amongst each other in different companies, but fine companies, nothing wrong, charging honest prices. They just happen to run a business and where they have to hedge their inventory. Otherwise, they could go out of business if gold and silver fell. And so what they do, they go out and short the markets, and at the end of the day, it's going to end up like Hans Tolving. And I would just want to make sure that none of you guys are left holding the bags. Austin Rare Coins doesn't do any hedging whatsoever. And make sure to give us a call. We want to earn your business. Thanks again, and I'll see you after this break here.
When you think of getting old, what comes to your mind? Spending the last years of your life in a nursing home? Staring out a window? Medicated to keep you docile? Not able to recognize your own kids? Suffering with some dreaded disease until you die all alone? Well, think again. One of the premier doctors in the world, Dr. James Forsythe, wrote the book Anti-Aging Cures. Life-changing secrets to reverse the effects of aging. Your key to the real fountain of youth. And Suzanne Summers, the perpetual face of eternal youth, wrote the foreword. As mentioned in the book, Royal Velvet is the most cost-effective, easiest, and complete way to reverse the effects of aging. It's true. So, do you want glowing skin, less wrinkles, thicker hair, less gray hair, your hormones balanced, improved memory, a toned physique, greater energy, less pain and stiffness, as well as benefits too numerous to name? Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com. Click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner, and within a couple of days, you can be on the path to youthful living. RoyalVelvetNow.com. Your life will never be the same.
Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question for my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe, Elton, and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, and trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning. Oh, won't you tell me again?
All right, guys. Gabe Elton here. Going to take you to the end of the hour. This is the last. We just finished the last break of the series, and Charlie and I actually are talking sometimes here on the breaks. He happens to be sitting in the wings in the background there, and we were talking about what's going to happen here in the United States when and if the dollar collapses. Not, and I shouldn't even have to say when. Or if rather, but when the dollar collapses, that's what's going to be pandemonium here in the United States. And the funny thing is you have these prognosticators out there. Some people like Porter Stansberry, who, I don't have any bad things to say about Porter. He kind of focuses on his own areas and other people focus on theirs. But, Porter seems to be so focused on this rule change that's coming here in July of this year, and that it's basically the ultimate of all capital controls. If you ever had an offshore account, which I haven't, but if you ever had an offshore account or anyone that has, it's basically going to be put in a stranglehold, and you're not going to have access to it. Another thing that's going on is FINRA, who is a regulatory body, is going to have basically like a camera, for lack of a better word. Basically what it is a recorder within every brokerage firm across the United States that says what everybody is doing in real time. All the trades that are being made in real time can be viewed by someone. Now, if you look at that, that could be taken over and used for political gain or monetary gain or gamed in particular, to know what everybody's investing in before, even if it is milliseconds, you'll know it before the market does. So who needs high frequency trading when you have a FINRA microphone or a FINRA camera? Basically what it is probably is a FINRA recorder that records every single trade that's happening in real time across the nation. Supposedly that's going to cut down on fraud, of course. And then you have this deal coming in July that's going to basically end any money that's stored outside of the United States. It's basically coming to an end. And I'm talking to a lot of my clients, and they have that on their radar screen. And personally, I think that's a curveball. I don't think it matters what rules or regulations the United States puts into place. There's nothing that our government can do anymore that's going to save us. The rest of the world are the ones who are making the decisions. The rest of the world are the ones who are going to decide when the crisis hits. The rest of the world are the ones who are going to decide when the dollar has been destructed. And they're making those decisions right now. All you have to do is look around to see it. One thing in particular, I ran across another quote that I thought was extremely important. And it said, the mathematics, it's from Benjamin Fulford, the mathematics of the world power balance are now indisputably in favor of the BRICS Alliance. The BRICS Alliance now controls 90% of the world's population and 68% of its GDP. So I'll say that again. The mathematics of the world power balance are indisputably in favor of the BRICS Alliance. The BRICS Alliance controls 90% of the world's population and 68% of its GDP. What do you think is going to happen when 90% of the world's population and 68% of its GDP looks at what's going on and decides, why do we have to exchange our currencies for U.S. dollars in order to conduct business with each other when the United States government's debt is mathematically impossible to repay? And that's what I wrote about several months ago about the beginning of the end of the U.S. dollar. That's probably what Jim Willey was writing about in December of last year when he said 2014 would be the end of the U.S. dollar. That's probably what John Williams was looking at of shadowstats.com. Was looking at whenever he wrote and has since backed that up several times that hyperinflation will begin in the United States in 2014. Now, you know, in the chat room, I saw questions asking when. Well, I tell you what, those guys are bold. John Williams is bold to say in 2014 the dollar is going to collapse. Jim Willey is bold to say in 2014, the world will move away from the dollar and the dollar will no longer be the world reserve currency. He goes on to say that that new currency will have a backing of gold and a backing of silver that will push the price for gold to $7,500 an ounce, silver to $250 an ounce. That was bold. And I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of crazy in December, but it's happening. I see it happening right here in front of me. And, I could be bold and say that gold's going to be $2,500 by the end of the year. Well, I choose not to say that. What I choose to do is look at the world picture and come up with a view of where we're headed and where we're going. And then I could be nearly certain about my assumption. And I am nearly certain, and I could basically say fully certain and confident that all of this is going to come to an end. It's going to end in a giant, big fireball. And I can't tell you when. I can only tell you that it's going to happen, and it is happening, and it's happening all around us. So take my advice. Get gold and silver while you can. Visit our website. We have great charts there for the gold and silver markets, platinum, palladium. You can even look at the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. You can even compare all of them. All of that's right there on our website. Another thing that you should look at is our Learning Center. A lot of informative articles there. In fact, I had thought about maybe covering some of those tonight. Some of them that I particularly wrote was what bullion dealers aren't telling you. If you want to know what gold bullion dealers are doing and why they're able to sell coins for less than us in some instances, look at what bullion dealers aren't telling you. It's at our website in the Learning Center. I also talk about the 3 types of gold and silver buyers in a different article. Compare stackers to collectors to those who can play the game in the middle and increase their stacks without having to increase their investment. Just a lot of good information right there. Give us a call. Fill out our form online. You'll get all of our most recent reports that aren't yet in the Learning Center. And you'll also be put on our promotional email list. We send out one about every 2 weeks. We'll send out an email with a special promotion. But the best promotion that you're ever going to hear, and I can promise you, I've never in the history of our company ran any promotion, anything like this. and it's the most popular silver coin in the world, the Silver American Eagle. 1 ounce of silver at spot. There is a limit of only one 5-coin order. However, you're able to get 5 Silver Eagles at spot plus the $7 shipping. It's $106 delivered. You're not going to find that anywhere in the nation, even from Hans Tolving, even from APMEX, even from Provident, even from the guys who, more power to them, are I happen to know, selling gold and silver for less than 1% above their cost. That in itself, I think, would keep me from wanting to send money to a company who's only making less than 1% per transaction. That in itself is a risky endeavor, but some people are able to pull it off. And just keep in mind of how this whole thing operates, how this country operates. This country operates by telling you that GM airbags aren't deploying fast enough while the Ukraine is exploding in flames, and while you have ultra-right people associated with the Nazi Party burning protesters in buildings, and they want to tell you that they're not sure of who started the fire, even though it's all on video. These are the guys who are running this thing, and as long as you stay in their circle of influence, you're going to think that the most important story in America today is that antidepressants might help Alzheimer's. Well, as far as the corporate world and gold goes, you're going to think that finding the lowest price above spot is your best bet. And let me tell you, that's not always the case. In fact, generally speaking, that's not the case. And if you dig a little bit deeper, you're going to find out that there are a lot of risk to sending money to a company who is heavily involved in shorting the gold and silver markets. You're going to find out that there's a lot of risk of doing business with a company who is making less than 1% on their transactions. I just don't see how someone like that could stay in business for long, but they make it up with volume, which means if it ever does come crashing down, especially like the COMEX, a lot of these people are going to be in very bad positions, and whatever you do, make sure that your money isn't tied up with them. We don't do any hedging whatsoever. I mentioned this before the last break. What we do as a company, we have very good connections all across the nation. We have very good credit lines with companies who ship us materials for free. And, that's not obviously paid for until it's here and delivered. And so we keep enough gold and silver here to cover small internet orders. If you call and you're ordering $2,000 worth or $500 worth or $5,000 worth, there's a pretty good chance that we have it here in stock for you. But if you are ordering $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, there's a pretty good chance that it's not here and it's not in stock for you. The reason why is because we don't hedge. And by not hedging, we're able to lock in products in real time. It's not the absolute least expensive way to buy, but it's the safest way to buy. And we've been in business for 25 years. So don't hesitate. Give us a call, 1-800-928-6468, 5 Silver Eagles, $106 delivered based on today's price. This promotion ends Friday, May 16th, 2014. Thanks again, everybody, for signing in with me. And just so you guys know, every other Wednesday I'll be here on the show. So you guys please step in and feel free to give us a call, and we'd love to have you as callers as well on the show. But all that I can say, just look around. Don't as you might hear from other radio show, talk show hosts, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I'm sure if you're hearing this show, you've already started your own research. Do your own research. Don't pay attention to the guys who tell you that a major news story is Karl Rove talking about Hillary's brain cancer. I mean, guys, I think that's evident enough that we have a lot of more important things going on in this world today, and you're not going to find it out by the usual means, looking at Google News or watching CNN, CBS, or NBC. You should be getting your, as Lindsey William will say, prepare your dinner table. I beg of you. I beg of you. And, that's basically what he's been warning. And I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but Lindsay popped up recently and said his insider friend over there has been telling him that it's now. And I remember him several years ago telling everybody to go on vacation, enjoy it, while the price of gas was down and the dollar still had some value. That's coming to an end. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you 2 Wednesdays from now. Sign off.
10 years old or something to see another kid my age drugged under a Jeep, taken and bound and found later under a tree. I wonder if he thought the next one could be me. Do you see the soldiers that are out today to brush the dust with bulletproof vests away? It's ironic at times like this you pray, but a bomb blew the mosque up yesterday. There's bombs on the buses, bikes, roads, inside your market, your shops, your clothes. My dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside not to let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand wrote a quote inside: when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news to be played. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry like, what did he say?
You have been chosen, yes, you, to discover for yourself what thousands have already experienced, the most life-changing health product in the world. It's called Royal Velvet, and there's nothing else like it. Royal Velvet users testify to receiving hundreds of benefits, from reversing the effects of aging to mental clarity, as well as noticeably improved sleep, energy, libido, overall health, and so much more, including saving lots of money. This is the real deal, that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you will regret if you don't act upon it. Honestly, there is an extremely limited amount of raw material, making it available only to a select few, a very select few. So find out why you have been chosen. Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com, click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner for an incredible surprise. Oh yeah, if you place your order before we run out of them, you will receive the eye-popping but simple-to-read book that tells you how to live in divine health, and it's free. RoyalVelvetNow.com.
In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rents.com.